Hi again, it's me, Miss Mish. We are now on Thursday's lesson 322. We are factoring trinomials again, but now we're putting it all together. So Monday, we learned how to find a GCF, which we needed for Tuesday when we had factoring with 4 terms. Yesterday, on Wednesday, we learned how to take a trinomial with 3 terms and expand it to make it 4 terms. Now today, we're going to factor all of that and put all those skills together to just factor a trinomial. Okay? So if you've been absent at all and you missed any videos, please feel free to catch up on those videos on your own time or an extra help, as it is essential to learning what we are doing today. So as you're setting up your notebook, please remember that page 3 and 4 is due tomorrow, and it is being checked for your e-score grade. So let's get started. Factoring trinomials, putting it all together. So what does a trinomial mean? Write your answer in your vocab box. A trinomial, we talked about it yesterday, but just to have it in our notebook, has 3 terms. So it's basically a polynomial with 3 terms. Okay. So let's think about this. Crystal answered both of these questions on an exam, and you don't have to copy this, we're just watching, hence the eyes in the corner. Crystal answered both of these questions on an exam. If this was her work shown, what did the question ask her to do? So number 1, here's the process. Started here, and the answer is what's boxed. For question number 2, she started here, and then her answer was here. So what would the question have been? So for number 1, think about it. Take 30 seconds. I'm going to set my timer. Or maybe not 30 seconds. Let's do 15 seconds. What did the question ask her to do? All right, that's my timer. So looking at this first one, if you started with a number outside the parentheses and put it into the parentheses, that question would have said to distribute. Or another word, it could have said multiply. Or it could have said simplify the expression. So all of that is telling us to take a number outside and put it in towards the center. We're making it smaller. We're making it more condensed. That's what we did here. Now, number 2 is taking something that's already condensed and making it expanded, or taking something out. That question would have said to factor or reverse distribute. All right, so I hope the difference between those two is a little clearer. If not, I'd be glad to go over that with you again. So when we're starting with something on the outside and putting it in, we're simplifying, that's distribution. We're making it smaller. Factoring is the opposite of that. We're taking something that's already put together and breaking it apart to show all of its factors. Okay? All right, so factoring a trinomial. So we're going to take everything that we learned this week and put it all together for this one problem. So just like you did yesterday, we identify our first term, our second term, and our last term. This is in standard form. I have my exponent as the highest, is in front, so that's good to go. So I multiply my first term and my last term. 3x squared times negative 8. That's going to get me negative 24x squared. That's going to be my factor part of my table. All right, our middle term is negative 2x. That is going to be my sum. Okay, so our factors, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 6 and 4. And I'm going to write those a second time so I can do my negatives and my positives. So for this, these are going to be all my negatives. These are going to be all my positives. And this one's going to be reverse. All right, let's get to our sums. This is going to get me positive 23. Feel free to use a calculator for this if you need. This is going to get me positive 10, positive 5, and negative 2. This one's going to get me negative 23. All right, so now that we have our sums, we are looking for what matches with our middle term. So our middle term is the negative 2. I'm looking for that negative 2. That's right here. Now, as you get the hang of it, you don't have to list them all out. Once you identify that term, you can stop. Or if it's easy for you to identify right away without writing the list, you can also just do that. However, this list is just meant to help you. So now I'm rewriting my first term and my last term. But instead of my middle being negative 2x, I'm changing that. So it was negative 2x, but now I'm splitting it up. It was negative 2, and now I'm splitting it to be negative 6x and positive 4x. So that's our expanded form. All right, so now we're not done. So yesterday we stopped here, but now we're going to take that expanded form, which was 3x squared minus 4x. Oh, sorry, minus 6x. Minus 8. All right, so now we're going to take this expanded form, and using what you practiced on Tuesday, we are going to factor this. So that was the whole point of yesterday's lesson and Tuesday's lesson, and now we're taking those things and putting them together. So you can use either method. Feel free to skip the video and fast forward based off what method you want to see. You don't have to watch the whole thing. But let's just practice both of those the first time maybe, so that we can just recap them, and once we pick what our favorite is, it doesn't matter. You're just factoring using your choice. All right, so reverse box method. I have 4 terms. When we distributed, they went on the outside. When we're factoring, they're going to go on the inside. And I'm just going to put those in that order. When I have my reverse double distribution, I'm splitting this in the middle. Okay, so now our process is taking out the GCF. So first I'm going to start with these two. So I'm taking out the GCF of 3x squared and negative 6. And that GCF gets me 3x. Now I'm taking the GCF out of these two. 4x and negative 8. So that's going to get me positive 4. Now let's go this way. GCF of 3x squared and 4x. I see an x in both, but 3 and 4, my biggest GCF is just 1, and that's okay. Let's do these two. I see a negative in both. My biggest GCF out of 6 and 8 is negative 2. And if you need to go back and make those lists like we were making them on Monday for GCF, feel free to do that. All right, but you don't have to. It's not necessary if it's something you can do on your head. Okay, so these two things are going to be our binomials. So I have 1x minus 2 and 3x plus 4. And that's reverse box method. Remember, our goal is to undo the original. So our original was the trinomial, and now we're undoing it so that we have two binomials. So if I were to do the opposite and multiply, I should get my original answer. Now let's do reverse double distribution. So again, I'm looking for the GCF in both of these terms, which is the 3x. And what's left over after I divide out a 3x? I get 1x minus 2. And now I'm looking for what's the GCF of 4 and negative 8. That would be a positive 4. So again, I divide those out. So I'm left with a 1x and a negative 2. And note that this parenthesis is the same as this. That's not a coincidence. That needs to happen. So when we write our two parentheses, 1x minus 2, this thing that's the same in both is going to be the first one, or the second. It doesn't matter the order. But your second one comes from these numbers, or your GCFs on the outside. So that's 3x plus 4. Okay, no matter which way you do it, you should get the same answer. So again, that's taking all the steps that we've done this week and putting it together for one problem. Seems like a lot, but as you get the hang of it, it is going to go much quicker than this video is going. There are cards on your table. Pick a card. As the numbers get higher, the problems get harder. And note that 19 through 24 are a bit of a challenge. So feel free to pick which number you want to do. You're going to complete the problem in your notebook. So make sure when you're doing that, you're labeling number 1. And then you're solving to get your answers. Okay? And then so on. After you've completed 3 cards, go to the check answer table and use the tablet, and you're going to scan the code. So this is called a QR code. I'm sure you guys have seen them before. But you're going to use the tablet to scan it, and what's pretty cool is it's going to give you your answer and see if you got the correct answer. If you did, I want you to go back in your notebook and mark a check. If you didn't, go back and mark an X. And then at the end of the period, I want to see how many you got right. So let's say at the end of the period, you did 10 total questions. How many did you get right? So did you get 3 right? Did you get 4? I want you to put that number on top, and then we're going to grade you on that. Well, we're not going to grade you for an actual grade, but just to see where you're doing. Red light, green light, you know the gist. All right, good luck. Again, call us over if you have any questions. Use this video as a reference. If not, you are good to go. Let's try another example. I'm going to move a little quicker this time. If you need to pause and recap, ask any questions, feel free to do so. So first and last term, 7n squared times 8. 7 times 8 gets me 56. That's my factor. And my sum is going to be my middle term, which is negative 30. All right. 1 and 56. 2 and 28. 4 and 14. 7 and 8. And I'm going to write it twice. This is a positive 56n. So that means I can have either all positives or all negatives. All right, our sum this is not 16, this is 18, sorry. All right, and we were looking for negative 30. So that's right here. So my expanded form is going to be 7n squared minus 2n minus 28n plus 8. That's my expanded form. See if I can remember how to cut and paste this. Nope. Yes, I got it. Okay, so here's our expanded form. Our next step of this process is going to be to take this expanded form and factor it into two binomials. Binomials means two, remember. So, again, you can fast forward and just choose which method you want to try and check your answers. You can pause the video, you can fast forward it, whatever you want to do to assure that you are learning this. So, I'm going to do reverse box method first. And then I'll do reverse double distribution. Okay. So, out of these two terms, I have an n, and 7 and 2 don't divide anything except 1. These two terms, I have a negative in front. So when you're doing this and you see a negative in front, you should take that out. That is the best trick I can explain that. And our GCF is going to be 4. Now let's go this way. 7 and 7 and again, I have that negative in front, so I'm going to take out that negative, and they both have a 2. So my binomial is going to be 7n minus 2. My other binomial is going to be 1n minus 4. That's my final answer. All right, let's look on this side. I take out 7n, and I'm left with 1n minus... Oh, I'm sorry. Can't take out a 7n. 7n doesn't divide 2. So let's try that again. I take out a 1n, and I'm left with 7n minus 2. And on this side, I'm going to take out a 4, negative, and then I'm left with 7n minus 2. Remember that these two needed to be the same. That's why I had to take out that negative. But keep in mind that same rule applies. If it's in front, take it out. So our two binomials, 7n minus 2. I'm getting that from both of these. And then 1n and negative 4 is going to give me my second one. So that's our final answer. All right. If you are interested in how